Welcome to Ryan Talks Physical Media and Tech, and today we're talking tech and we are talking Spotify Lossless, which is finally here after what feels like years of waiting. I can't remember when it was announced. I think it was like 2023, but it's finally here. And in this short video, what I wanted to do is just talk to you about how I enabled it and how to get it enabled on your Apple TV. As always, if you are new here and you love all things physical media and tech, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join me down in the comments. So for those that aren't aware, Spotify Lossless, or Spotify Hi-Fi, I think it was originally advertised as, is Spotify's lossless streaming service. Now, it comes at no extra cost, much like Apple Music, which is great, big thumbs up. It is about 3 years too late. Apple Music have had lossless streaming for quite some time. Spotify offer 24-bit 44 kilohertz lossless streaming now across, I think, pretty much all their songs. I've been testing it and I keep getting the lossless symbol come up. Now, this isn't a video based on the difference between lossless and lossy audio and whether you're going to be able to tell the difference. I do have a video where I talk about streaming in general, particularly with the Apple TV, which I will link up here. But the big thing with lossless streaming is if you've got Bluetooth headphones, which is probably 95% of the population that use these streaming services, you're not going to get that full lossless audio. The main thing when it comes to music playback is how well the track's mastered. Yes, there is going to be subtle difference between lossy and lossless, and if you've got the right equipment and external DAC and stuff like that, you will probably notice a bit of a difference. But for the most part, you're not going to notice a difference with your AirPods in walking around town. Now, that's not to say this isn't welcome. I've always said that Apple Music sounds better than Spotify, but again, it's probably more down to the mastering and stuff as opposed to compression. Again, that's a whole other video that we could talk about. But what I want to talk about here is how I enabled Spotify Lossless on my iPhone, and also something I haven't really seen touched upon, how you can get it ready to go on the Apple TV with the Spotify app. Now, a couple of weeks ago when I opened Spotify, I got an announcement saying that Spotify Hi-Fi / Lossless is coming, and they would let me know as soon as it was available in my library. Well, a couple of days ago, I actually went into the settings and I was able to turn it on. I received no notification. So first of all, if you haven't yet received that notification, you can follow these steps actually just to go into the settings to see if you can enable it. I don't know if it's enabled ready worldwide yet, but all I found that I had to do is to go into your settings on Spotify, scroll down to media quality, and then what you have here, we've got audio streaming quality, cellular streaming quality, and video streaming quality. And you can see we've got download quality as well at the bottom there. So what you need to be doing is you can choose whether you want Wi-Fi streaming or cellular streaming set to lossless. So you can say this was here. I didn't receive any notification to tell me that this was available. Now, when it comes to the Apple TV app, I thought that just enabling on my phone, as soon as I use the app on the TV, it would be lossless, but I couldn't see any indication that it was playing back in lossless audio. With Apple Music, you get like the lossless symbol, but I wasn't getting that with Spotify. So once again, there isn't any settings that you can actually change on the app, the Spotify app on Apple TV. You can enable lossless audio with Apple Music in the actual Apple TV settings, but you can't do that with the Spotify app. So what you actually have to do is you actually have to use the mobile app, which I'll just talk you through those settings now. Now, as you can see, I'm playing a track on the Spotify app on my Apple TV, and there is no indication that we are playing lossless audio. So what we actually have to do, we have to go into the Spotify setting on the iPhone to get this enabled. So once you go into the Spotify app, which I will do with you now. So I'm in the Spotify app. As you can see, the track is playing and we've got it linked to my Apple TV through Spotify Connect. And we're going to go into the settings again. And when we go into media quality now, like we did just a second ago, you'll notice that we've got Apple TV at the top, and I can change this. So I've still got this phone. You can see I've got audio streaming quality, but that's all blurred out now because I'm not actually streaming on the iPhone. I'm streaming on the Apple TV. And I've now got, if I can get it in focus, a lot more settings, and you can see that I have lossless. Now I want to turn on lossless. It doesn't happen instantly, so you can see on the TV now, it still doesn't say lossless. However, if I skip back a track and then skip forward again, you will now see that we have that little green lossless in the bottom left, and we have now enabled lossless playback on our Apple TV Spotify app. So that's the method I've used to enable Spotify Lossless on my iPhone, as well as getting it to play back on my Apple TV. Now, obviously on the Apple TV, you are getting lossless audio. There's going to be a few variables depending on your speakers and stuff for how well it's going to sound. I'm using a Sonos setup here. really happy with how it sounds. I've compared it to Apple Music, A and B. I can't really notice a huge amount of difference. I've compared 320 to the lossless, and initial impressions, maybe lossless does sound a little bit more fuller, but ever so slightly. This isn't going to be a deep dive in the difference between lossy and lossless audio, but hopefully it's got you set up with Spotify Hi-Fi/lossless, and you've got it enabled on your iPhone and now your Apple TV. At the time of recording this, that's the only way I can see that it can be done. Maybe in the future there'll be an update on the Apple TV app where you can just toggle it there and then, but that's how I've got it to work for now. As always, thank you for watching. Hope this video was helpful. Let me know down in the comments what you think of Spotify Lossless. Do you prefer Apple Music? Let me know and I'll join you down there, and I'll catch you in the next video.